Hey guys. So, I'm back with round two of the YouTube Pagan Challenge. And this week's question is: are you in or out of the broom closet? Um, I am, I don't know. I guess my thoughts best described like there's a closet because I don't think I was ever really like in one to come out of in the first place. I don't wave at anyone in anyone's face. Don't get me wrong. Like I'm not saying closets, but um, I just never really kept it in. Maybe in part because my mom was already there, but like I don't know. I just didn't feel the need. Now I've had to explain it to people and stuff that didn't understand or had questions for me or that kind of thing. But I'm fine explaining it. At work, I normally wear a pentacle. Um, if the topic of religion comes up, which we're not technically supposed to talk about it at work, like at all, but if the topic comes up, I will discuss it and I will throw in my 2 cents, not to be combative or anything, but just to be, I don't know, like another point of view in the conversation. Um, I tend to do devil's advocate a lot, even with myself. So it's not even anything personal. I just like to be able to look at it from multiple sides. Capricorn, Sun, Cancer, Moon. What you gonna do? Um, so there's that. Um, let's see. My family, they know it's not a secret. My extended family, I never really told them. I wasn't like, hey, Uncle so and so, it's nice to meet you at this 4th of July family reunion. By the way, I'm pagan. It doesn't really, it's kind of like your sexuality. You don't just like say it when you introduce yourself. It's I don't know. People just gradually get to know you or get to the point where they're comfortable enough to ask. For some people, that happens to be when I'm shopping at a store. For other people, it's once we've known each other for a year. It just depends. Um, let's see. When I do explain it, it's usually something like imagine what the different tribes of many cultures believed or worshipped before Christianity came along. How they worked with the soil and asked for abundance and fertility and, made offerings and, to get a fuller harvest or a healthier family. Um, that's that's kind of how I explain it, pretty much. Because to me, it's a very, I don't know, it's roots, root, dirt, bone, and stone, right? Um, so I usually kind of take that approach if they don't know what pagan is. I try not to get too wordy or like throw out things that maybe the mainstream doesn't know, because then I feel like people just like drown in the info and they're like, I should have never la 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 and wander away. um, so yeah, um, I'm out. I'm not in. I do understand that there are some people that uh, are in for their own safety or are in because they just don't want to have those conversations all the time. Um, and I can respect that. Each situation and each person is completely different. Um, for me personally, uh, I'm actually going to go off of something that Charlie Says Go said in her video, was that she had never really had that much of an issue with people combating her about it. And that's kind of my experience so far, too. I've lived in a population 300 town, and then I've lived in this big city. And both of them had about the same experience for me. Um, Either people don't question it at all and they just keep walking, or they question me and then we actually get into a pretty interesting conversation. Even if they come in a little bit combative, it's not like a straight up, you're going to hell. And usually, I work with the Norse goddess Hel, so I just make a joke about that. um, so there's that. Uh, but yeah, I don't know if it's me per se, like how she was touching on, maybe it's like the approach she takes or something, but I have often wondered, and I don't mean it in an arrogant way, like I sincerely wonder why. Like, I've had people who are friends do the exact same thing that I do, and they get hassled. And I mean, I had one friend who was just wearing a crystal on her neck. It wasn't even like a pagan symbol, it was a simple, like, I think it was a tiger's eye, like one of those little pendants that goes on the metal clamp and just hangs. Just a tiger's eye. And someone gave her shit about it, told her she was into all that dark stuff, she was going to hell, like all this kind of stuff. And I've not had that experience, and I wear a freaking pinnacle on my neck. And it honestly kind of like makes me wonder what the difference is there, or like, is it a place and time thing where you got to just be in it and I keep missing it? um I'm not saying, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying like I want people to just like hound me, but I don't really experience it a lot. um and honestly, when those kind of conversations come up, if I'm waiting in line and someone goes, what is that, instead of thinking it's a Jewish star, if someone goes, what is that? And I tell them it's a pentacle. And they go, well, what does that mean? And we get into conversation. Like, I really enjoy those conversations. Like, I feel like even if they're really anti it and it does go off the deep end, like, maybe there's that chance that when the egos are off the table and they're at home afterwards thinking about it, that they'll have a phrase that they wonder about and look it up, or it'll hit something, it'll plant some kind of seed that they look up. And not to turn them pagan, because I don't want to turn anyone anything, you be you, but maybe down the line one of their family is going to come out as pagan, and maybe there'll just be a seed more of understanding there than before. I'm not saying I'm going to create the change all on my own. I'm not saying like I blew their mind and then like their life is different. But I'm saying like I wear my pinnacle so that I can have those conversations. At work, we call them courageous conversations. It's hard conversations that you have to have with people, and you don't necessarily want to sometimes, but it helps. It's constructive. And even though I haven't had any like really bad situations to where some of my friends have, and I totally understand that it's out there. Don't get me wrong, I'm not naive and thinking like, well, it hasn't happened to me, so lottie freaking da. I'm not naive in thinking that. I know that. I've had friends have their dogs taken away. I've had friends be hassled about their kids. I've had friends be hassled in their jobs. I know that it happens. For me, it's a personal choice, just as it is for them. And for me, I would rather have the courageous conversation and maybe somehow make their lives easier too. Does that make sense? I don't know. Like, I wear the pinnacle in my workplace because no one can say that I wasn't out. So if I'm targeted in some way, it's well known that I'm pagan. So I have a legal case there. They know that I'm pagan. I don't hide it. Everybody knows. So I don't know. I kind of, on the other end, wear it for my own protection. Because to me, I feel like I would rather challenge it. Maybe it's that indigo kid thing. I don't know. But like I'd rather break down the wall and just communicate. Like I don't need to change your world. I don't need to change your mind, but I want to talk about it. Please, let's talk about it. I'm not going to start it with someone. Like I'm not going to get in their face and shove my paganism on them. But if they were curious enough to ask, and the ones I really like are the ones who are genuinely curious and they want to know, but they don't know how to ask you without sounding offensive. Like, I love those conversations because they genuinely want to understand. And I think the world needs more of that shit. Like, just in general. So, I wear it for those conversations. That's what I do. I wear it for that. And, like, for me, I've just always been me, whether I'm wearing a pentacle or not. Like, if something comes up and I have 2 cents for that from a pagan point of view, then I'll say it. I'm not gonna, like, fight to interject it, but I'm gonna say it. I feel like all voices should be heard. So, yeah, you don't gotta be nasty about it, but all opinions should be heard. So in, out, blew it up. I don't know. I never really was in to come out, but I respect those that are in because I'm familiar with some of the struggles that they have to go through or that they're even afraid of going through because of maybe what they see around them already. And I get that. I'm not saying that you guys are shameful of it or are a disgrace because you don't, or maybe don't feel it as strongly because you don't, because I think that's a little bullshit and that's people like making other people the enemy to try and raise themselves up. And I don't dig that. I don't get down with that. So, yeah, that's my 2 cents on the whole matter. And I think that religion is like a penis. It's perfectly fine to have one, but you don't just like whip it out and wave it around at people. You know what I'm saying? Who said that? Maggie Smith, I believe. And I adore her. So, I love you guys. I'll talk to you later. See you next week. Bye.